What if the one thing missing in your life is the belief that nothing's actually missing? You've been taught to chase abundance, but what if true power comes when you think as if you already have everything? When you stop measuring your worth by bank accounts, applause, or outcomes, and start building your identity from the inside out. This is not about pretending, it's about training. A Stoic mindset shift. The daily habit of choosing confidence without waiting for permission. It begins with one decision: live from inner abundance. In this video, you'll learn how to rewire your thinking, speak as someone who already believes, eliminate neediness, and walk like a man who's already arrived. You'll see how gratitude before success doesn't just change your mood, it transforms your momentum. You'll discover how your mental abundance training is the foundation for all external achievement. Every thought you plant becomes a choice. Every choice becomes a habit. Every habit becomes the man you become. So ask yourself right now, are you acting like a man who's waiting, or one who already knows? If this speaks to you, don't keep it to yourself. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a man who needs this message. Because your future doesn't wait for proof, it responds to presence. And it begins the moment you decide to think abundantly. Starting now. 1. Abundance begins in the mind. You don't need a raise, a title, or a round of applause. You need to rewire how you think. A man can win on paper, but feel like he's losing because his mind is trained to look for what's missing. That's the silent war most men fight, not against the world, but against the voice that whispers, "You're not there yet." We've been conditioned to measure our lives by external scoreboards: income, validation, and results. But here's the truth no one tells you. Abundance doesn't start when the world gives you more. It starts when you stop needing more to feel whole. Think of your mind as a battlefield. If every morning you enter that space unarmed, letting scarcity, doubt, and resentment run free, you've already lost the day. But if you step in like a commander, choosing what thoughts to allow, what to reinforce, what to destroy, then the battle begins to turn. The Stoics knew this long before neuroscience confirmed it. The stories you repeat in your head become the limits or the leverage of your life. Say, "I don't have enough," often enough, and your mind filters the world through lack. Say, "I have what I need to build," and suddenly opportunities show up. Not because they weren't there, but because now you can see them. Now pause. Ask yourself, what do you rehearse every day without noticing? Are you repeating beliefs planted by fear, or ones rooted in intention? Because no man can harvest outside what he hasn't planted within. Your outer world mirrors your inner convictions. That's not magic. It's biology. It's selective attention. And it's a skill you can train. Start with language. The words you use in silence matter. Stop saying "I'm behind" and say instead, "I'm building." Stop saying "I'm lost" and start saying "I'm realigning." These aren't affirmations for wishful thinkers. These are commands for your nervous system. That's mental abundance training, not chanting, not manifesting, but owning your inner dialogue like a man who leads himself before he leads anything else. Picture a man waking up before the sun, sitting in stillness, not to scroll, not to panic, but to train. His mind becomes his arena, and he walks out the door, not hoping for peace, but carrying it with him. You can become that man. Not by adding more, but by subtracting the noise, the need, the false stories. It begins by saying this to yourself every morning. Nothing outside of me creates my worth. I already have what I need to build what I want. That's your first weapon. A simple sentence, a shift in tone, a decision to stop waiting for something outside to begin something inside. And once that shift happens, everything else changes. Because the man who owns his mind doesn't chase abundance. He becomes it. 2. You can't harvest outside what you haven't planted within. Every man wants results, more strength, more peace, more control. But most men forget one thing. The results you chase are just the reflection of the seeds you've already planted. You can't grow oak trees from weeds. Yet many men wake up every day feeding their minds with doubt, fear, and frustration, then wonder why they keep seeing the same outcomes. The problem isn't the world. The problem is what's been allowed to take root inside. Transformation doesn't start with a strategy. It starts with a belief, because you cannot harvest outside what you haven't planted within. There's a common trap, waiting for external change before giving yourself permission to feel different. waiting for the job, the respect, the bank balance. But that's like a man standing in a barren field, arms crossed, waiting for a crop to grow, without planting anything. The Stoics understood this better than most. Epictetus didn't teach men to hope for better outcomes. He trained them to take full command of their minds. What you believe about yourself when no one is watching becomes the blueprint for everything you do when the world is. That's mental abundance training, and it starts with what you allow to grow inside your head. A man who constantly waters thoughts like, "I'm not enough, I'm too late, nothing ever works," is programming his system to filter the world through scarcity. His actions follow suit: hesitation, avoidance, insecurity. Then when the world mirrors back more resistance, he thinks it's fate, but it's just feedback. On the other hand, a man who plants clarity, patience, and direction in his thinking begins to act differently. He walks into rooms grounded. He speaks fewer words, but each carries weight. He doesn't wait for the world to crown him. He walks like a man who's already chosen himself. If you want to change your reality, you have to uproot what's been growing in silence. Start with awareness. What do you feed your mind each morning? Comparison, complaint, or purpose? Swap out low-frequency thoughts for high-integrity ones. Speak less from fear, more from intention. Choose to frame your day through Stoic habits for success, not the chaos of outside noise. You don't need to overhaul everything overnight, but you do need to stop feeding the mental weeds if you ever want to see a different harvest. Imagine your mind like a garden. Every word, thought, or focus is a seed. You can't ignore it, hope for luck, and expect to see abundance. If what you're living right now feels dry, uninspired, or reactive, go back to the soil. Go back to the thoughts you've allowed to settle. Then decide differently. Plant better. Water what matters, because the man who thinks as if he already had everything makes every action reflect that inner wealth long before anyone else sees it. That's where real change begins. Quietly, inside, on purpose. 3. Live as if you were already prosperous. A man doesn't become powerful the moment the world recognizes him. He becomes powerful the moment he stops waiting for recognition. Most men live their lives on pause, postponing confidence, holding back presence, delaying purpose until they hit some invisible benchmark. But that's not power. That's quiet desperation in a tailored suit. True abundance doesn't begin when the bank account is full or when the applause finally comes. It begins when you carry yourself like you already earned it, not in arrogance, but in alignment. You've been taught to wait. Wait until you get the promotion. Wait until she believes in you. Wait until life gives you permission to feel like a man who matters. But that mindset is a trap. If you delay strength until it's validated, it will never be consistent. What the Stoics understood, and what modern men have forgotten, is that prosperity is not a destination. It's a posture. It's how you stand, how you speak, how you treat yourself when no one is around to witness it. That's the foundation of inner abundance, and it's where real confidence begins. Imagine a soldier in training who moves as if he's already on the battlefield, not pretending, but preparing. His presence is earned through discipline, not through medals. His mind is sharp because he doesn't act like a rookie waiting for authority. He carries authority in how he breathes. In your life, it works the same. If you want others to see you as capable, decisive, worthy, you must first treat yourself that way. Speak clearly, walk with intent, make decisions as a man who already knows who he is. Don't shrink. Don't wait. Don't let your circumstances determine your self-respect. This shift isn't delusion, it's training. Just like lifting before you're strong or running before you feel fast, you act like the man you intend to become, and through action, you bridge the gap. Your nervous system starts to adapt. You stop needing to prove and start choosing to live. The anxiety of not being enough begins to lose its grip, not because life has changed, but because you've changed how you enter it. This is the quiet power of living as if, and it's available now, not someday. Start small. Speak one sentence today with full breath and full belief. Sit up straighter when no one is watching. Decline a distraction without apologizing. Look at the work in front of you like it matters, because it does. Prosperity doesn't start in the numbers. It starts in how you show up before the numbers arrive. You don't chase abundance. You lead it. You don't ask for permission to be solid. You build solidity by being consistent. So from this moment forward, carry yourself like the man who already knows. Because when you live like you've already arrived, the world begins to respond accordingly. Not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. 4. Practice gratitude. Before receiving gratitude isn't a reward you give yourself after everything works out. It's a foundation you build before anything shows up. Most men wait until they land the contract, win the respect, or solve the problem. Only then do they allow themselves to feel calm, collected, and proud. But that's not a strength, that's dependence. And a man who lives in reaction to results will always be owned by them. True power begins when you no longer need proof to feel peace. Gratitude before success isn't naive, it's strategic. It's not optimism, it's ownership. Picture a man in the middle of winter, stacking firewood, knowing the storm hasn't hit yet. He's not panicking, he's preparing. That's what gratitude is, emotional preparation. When you give thanks in advance, you stop chasing life and start partnering with it. You send a clear signal, not just to the universe, but to your own nervous system, that you already believe in your direction. And when belief is present, fear has no oxygen. The Stoics never taught men to wish for ease. They trained them to remain steady, no matter what came. Gratitude was a daily exercise in clarity. You don't practice it to be spiritual. You practice it to stay sharp. When you wake up and give thanks for who you are, what you carry, and what you've endured, you shift the context of your life. Problems become challenges, delays become training, and lack becomes silence, not panic. This isn't abstract, it's tactical. Start your day by writing one thing you're grateful for before it happens. Not to fake anything, but to guide your focus. Say thank you not for the house you don't own, but for the discipline that will earn it. Don't wait to celebrate a relationship. Honor the man you're becoming who can sustain one. Don't thank the future once it delivers. Thank your present for showing up to earn it. Mental abundance training isn't about pretending you're rich. It's about realizing that the richest thing you carry is your direction. Every time you complain, you multiply scarcity. Every time you hesitate, you slow your alignment. But when you speak gratitude, even quietly, even alone, you invite power back into your frame. It's not loud, it's not performance, it's precision. You create space for confidence, not because everything is certain, but because you've decided to walk like a man who's already invested in what matters. And here's the shift. Once gratitude becomes a way of thinking, it becomes a way of living. You respond less, react less, and prove less. You stop needing life to bow to your timeline and instead start rising to your own rhythm. So wake up tomorrow and start before the evidence arrives. Speak like a man who sees the good in motion. Walk like a man who trusts what he's building. And give thanks, not for what you're holding, but for the strength it took to keep going. That is abundance, that is control, and that is yours now. 5. Speak as someone who already believes. Every time you speak, you're planting a signal, either for growth or for defeat, not in others, but in yourself. Words aren't just sounds, they're structures, blueprints, commands to the nervous system. The man who speaks from fear reinforces fear. The man who speaks from belief reinforces momentum. Yet most men are careless with their language. They say, I can't, I never, I'm stuck, without realizing they're setting up invisible walls. The words feel small, but the effect is massive. That's why men who seem to have less often go further. They talk like builders, not victims. They don't describe problems, they declare direction. There's a myth that you have to feel ready before you speak with conviction. But that's backwards. You don't speak powerfully because you're confident. You become confident because you speak powerfully. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the soul is dyed with the color of its thoughts. But thoughts don't just live in your head, they live in your words. Every sentence you speak is either anchoring doubt or activating inner abundance. If you want to walk like a man who already has what he needs, then speak like one, even when no one's listening. Imagine standing in front of a mirror each morning, and instead of listing what's missing, you simply say, I'm already capable of what this day requires. That's not arrogance, it's alignment. When you speak as if you've already arrived, you start behaving in ways that match that belief. And behavior repeated becomes identity. That's mental abundance training in motion. Not as a performance, but as a pattern. You're not faking it, you're forming it. Now, think about the last time you spoke about your goals. Did you shrink them with excuses? Did you soften them to be safe? Or did you speak with certainty, like a man who takes responsibility for his vision? Because what you say, out loud or in silence, either tightens or expands your grip on reality. Too many men talk themselves into smallness because they confuse humility with self-erasure. But Stoic humility isn't weakness, it's discipline. It's the ability to speak truth without drama, belief without noise. So start here. Don't say, if I make it. Say, when I follow through. Don't say, I hope I change. Say, I'm becoming the kind of man who acts with purpose. You don't have to shout it, but you do have to mean it. Quiet power travels further than volume, and words spoken with intention build a frame the world can feel, even before it sees results. Each time you open your mouth, you reinforce who you are. Speak less from what you fear, more from what you value. Let your words match the man you're building, not the doubts you're shedding. And if you forget everything else, remember this. Speak as if you already believe. Because the man who speaks like he believes becomes the man who doesn't need to convince anyone else. 6. Eliminate neediness, cultivate certainty. Neediness is loud, it begs, it clings, it overreacts, but certainty, it moves in silence, it leads. Most men don't realize how much of their energy leaks through subtle desperation, wanting to be liked, wanting to be chosen, wanting everything to work out before they decide to believe in themselves. But when your actions come from need, you push away the very things you chase. You can't build solid ground while standing in emotional quicksand. And every time you act from lack, you tell your nervous system that you're not enough yet. You must wait. You must earn permission. That's not leadership. That's dependence. The Stoics rejected this posture completely. They trained themselves to expect nothing and still remain grounded. Epictetus lost his freedom and still held his dignity. Why? Because he understood that inner power isn't conditional, it's constructed, built through discipline, not circumstances. So if your state of mind rises and falls with people's attention, outcomes, or timing, you're not free, you're exposed. Real abundance begins when you no longer act out of need, but out of direction. You stop proving, you start choosing. You move with Stoic mindset shift from craving results to carrying responsibility. Picture a man walking through fog. If he's unsure of where he's going, he hesitates with every step, checking for signs, reacting to shadows. But if he knows his path, he walks through the unknown with presence. He doesn't need visibility. He moves because he decided to. That's what certainty feels like. It's not arrogance. It's clarity in motion. And you don't get it by waiting for life to confirm it. You get it by training it like a muscle. Mental abundance training means acting as if what you're building is already possible, even when no one sees it yet. So the next time you feel needy, when you're checking your phone for replies, when you overthink a decision, when you're trying to impress, pause, breathe. Ask, am I acting from confidence or compensation? Because every move you make from a lack will demand more from you than it gives. But when you act from internal alignment, you conserve energy, you build presence, and you send a signal to the world. I don't chase, I carry. I don't beg, I embody. Start small. Choose one interaction today where you say less, stand taller, and release the need to be liked. Choose one task where you don't rush for completion, but move through it with control. Certainty isn't about predicting results, it's about trusting your posture. And the more you reinforce it, the more the world responds, not out of fear, but out of respect. Neediness says, please let this work. Certainty says, I'll keep showing up regardless. Let that be your mantra. Let that be your frame. Because the man who no longer needs to prove he's worthy is the one who becomes impossible to ignore. 7. Shape your identity through presence and posture. A man's posture speaks before his words do. The way he enters a room, the way he breathes, the way he holds eye contact, it all reveals what he believes about himself. You can tell who walks with purpose and who's hoping not to be seen. But posture isn't just physical, it's philosophical. It's an extension of your identity. Most men don't lose power because of a lack of talent. They lose it because their body contradicts their potential. When your shoulders are slouched, your steps unsure, your energy scattered, the message is clear. I'm not ready. And the world responds accordingly. But when your presence says, "I've already arrived," it doesn't matter who's watching. You've already set the tone. We're conditioned to think posture is something cosmetic, a correction for bad habits. But it's far more than that. Your physiology is a tool for programming your mindset. Just as repetition wires your beliefs, your body position reshapes your mental state. The Stoics didn't talk about posture in the gym. They talked about it in life. They carried themselves with dignity in courtrooms, in exile, in silence, because posture to them was a signal of ownership. When you stand tall in uncertainty, when you breathe calmly in pressure, when you plant your feet while others shuffle, you're shaping the very man you're becoming. Picture a soldier standing on the edge of battle. He doesn't slouch. He doesn't fidget. He doesn't wait for certainty to stand tall. He creates it. That's not bravado, it's training. And you have the same choice each day. Before you open your laptop, before you speak in a meeting, before you walk through that door, what posture are you bringing with you? If you walk like a man who doubts himself, no strategy will compensate. But if you walk like a man with direction, even in confusion, people notice. More importantly, you notice. Your nervous system calibrates to confidence, not through theory, but through repetition. That's mental abundance training in action, carried in your spine, in your breath, in your pace. This isn't about faking confidence, it's about reinforcing it. You don't become a man after the result. You become him through presence, through posture that matches purpose, and it starts now. Sit up while watching this. Take a deeper breath. Drop your shoulders. Square your jaw, not in tension but in clarity. Let your body tell your mind, "I'm here. I'm capable. I'm in control." And that simple shift begins a pattern. Because if you shape your posture daily, you begin to shape your identity. And when that identity is rooted in presence, the world doesn't need to approve. You already know who you are. No one gave it to you. You built it, quietly, consistently, physically. And in a world full of noise, that kind of grounded presence is power no one can take. 8. Action over intention. Begin before you feel ready. The man who waits for perfect clarity will never move. He'll keep planning, perfecting, hesitating, until the window is gone. Intention without execution is just hesitation in disguise. We've glorified the idea of getting ready, of needing more time, of needing more signs. But clarity is a byproduct of motion, not a prerequisite for it. Action builds identity. Action creates momentum. Action sharpens focus. If you're waiting to feel confident before you take the leap, you've already surrendered your power. A man who thinks as if he already has everything doesn't wait for guarantees. He trains through action. We're told to visualize success, to dream big, to manifest. And while visualization has its place, it's nothing without movement. The Stoics knew this long before it became a buzzword. Epictetus didn't speak about vision boards, he spoke about self-discipline, daily choices, and the power of stepping forward without needing applause. Real confidence doesn't come from thinking about success, it comes from moving in the face of uncertainty. Because each step, no matter how small, tells your brain, "I'm capable, I'm progressing, I'm becoming." Picture a man standing at the edge of a cold river. He dips his toes in, then retreats. The water will never feel warm until he dives. That's how most men approach change. They test, they hesitate, they overthink. But the only way to adapt is to commit. Your body learns from the shock. Your mind strengthens through challenge. Growth never happens at the edge, it happens in the current. So stop staring, step in. Your first move doesn't have to be perfect, it has to be real. Start by choosing one thing you've postponed, that conversation, that workout, that decision, and act. Don't plan it to death. Don't wait for permission. Move as a man who no longer needs evidence to believe in his direction. That's what mental abundance training looks like, not in theory, but in practice. Because motion rewires your identity faster than journaling ever could, and action, repeated with purpose, becomes your proof. Most men want guarantees, but Stoic men don't look for safety, they build strength. You don't grow by asking, "What if it doesn't work?" You grow by asking, "Who do I become by doing this either way?" Action isn't just about the result. It's about who you train yourself to be in the process. And that shift, from passive hope to active control, is what makes the difference between the man who changes and the man who waits a lifetime for conditions to align. So stop asking for signs. Stop over-strategizing. Start with one decisive move today that aligns with the man you want to become. Do it without applause. Do it before you feel like it. Do it because that's what power looks like. The world doesn't need more men with good intentions. It needs more men in motion. And the man who moves, even while uncertain, becomes the one who owns everything he was waiting for. You don't need to chase what you already carry. Every lesson you've heard today points to one truth. Abundance is not a finish line. It's a mindset, a posture, a daily decision to live, lead, and act as if you already had everything. Because deep down, you do. The men who rise are not always the loudest, the strongest, or the most prepared. They're the ones who act while others wait, who train while others doubt, and who carry quiet confidence built through daily intention. From the way you speak, the way you walk, to the way you breathe, each moment is a chance to reinforce the man you're becoming. Use your presence as power. Use your gratitude as fuel. And above all, use your discipline to build momentum. This isn't about pretending, it's about practicing. You shape inner abundance through small daily acts. You sharpen your stoic mindset by doing the hard things when no one's watching. And you walk like a man who already believes, long before the world confirms it. So begin today. Speak with clarity, stand with purpose, move with intention. Let every word, every breath, and every choice reflect your commitment to becoming. Because the man who no longer needs to prove becomes the one others trust, follow, and remember. If this message shifted something in you, share your story in the comments below. What are you building? What are you letting go of? What action will you take today to embody inner abundance? The world is noisy. Be still. The world is fast. Be grounded. While others seek approval, build quiet confidence. You don't need more. You need to return to what's already yours and live like it's already done. That is how a Stoic walks, and that is how you lead.